Okay, we're back with another episode of Ben's Books. Oh my god, it's been long enough, but that's how long it took to read. I think it took about a week to read this one, and then because I wasn't reading properly, it took me about 3 months. But yeah, sit down, make the time to read, and then you'll get the books done. So, of course, I gotta say it before we do anything, spoilers. And yeah, so there we go. I'll try to do it as much spoiler free as possible. Angry Joe does it really nicely where he has, or talks about a movie without spoiling it, and then he goes into the spoiler section. So we'll try to do that, but I don't really know how we can. So anyway, you have been forewarned. So starting off with Michael Crichton's The Andromeda Strain. This was published in 1971. Where's the original publishing? Copyright 1969. Okay. And, oh, this is a penguin book. No, it isn't. What? I don't know. Anyway. The thriller that shook a generation. And the back says, 5 prominent biophysicists give the United States government an urgent warning. Sterilization procedures for returning space probes may be inadequate to guarantee uncontaminated re-entry into the atmosphere. Okay. So they set up this project, which is a laboratory in the desert, of course top secret and completely classified, and in preparation for this event, and that's exactly what happens. 2 years later, Project Scoop sends 17 satellites into the fringes of space in order to collect organisms and dust for study. Okay, then one of these probe satellites falls to Earth, lands in a desolate area of northeast Arizona and the nearby town of Piedmont, where everybody dies. The terror has begun, sort of paraphrasing. So that's the story, or the setup. He had me convinced it was all really happening. Christopher Lehman, Haupt, New York Times, and yes, this is very realistic. Because one of the good things about Crichton's books is he does his research. So there's even, references in the back. So, I mean, I haven't verified that these are real because some of them seem fake in the other book. But the more research you do, the better product you will actually have. And having written a few papers myself, I know that to be true. Science fiction, which once frightened because it seemed so far out, now frightens because it seems so near. The Andromeda Strain is as matter of fact as the skull and crossbones instructions on a bottle of poison, and just as chillingly effective. And it says Life, so I would assume that's Life magazine, maybe? Terrifying, one of the most important novels of the year. Library Journal. Important. I don't know why they would call it important, but yep. I mean, it's pretty good. What's the setup here? And yeah, he starts each section with quotes. The survival value of human intelligence has never been satisfactorily demonstrated. Okay, and that's a quote from the main character. Increasing vision is increasingly expensive. R.A. Janik? Okay, so you got some pages like this classified as top secret, interspersed here with the actual novel. So that's really cool. And separated by days, so contact, that's of course when they discover that the probe has crash landed. And I mean, it's really well paced. And some of these, so it's got mathematical binary system and equations there thrown in. So the science is really good. Of course, I don't think my first read through took only a week to read, but as you read the same book multiple times, it does get easier, unless you're gone for a really long time, like The Hobbit, like I said. Whoa. And then cool maps like this. You've got a map of the United States and then a weighted map to account for wind and population factors, which you'll see could be a very big issue in this story. And basically, the organism they find, they study, and they make a few mistakes studying it. But at the end of the day, they save it from disaster. And yeah, you got hours, minutes, seconds, procedure, orbital checks, so stuff like that. Again, the story is fantastic. And very realistic. I don't know if I thought of the coronavirus when I was reading this or if I was reading the sequel, but it was very appropriate. And well timed, especially for that publication. Anything else? Can't really show you much. So there's a sketch. So yeah, they examine it under a microscope again, and they'll tell you pretty early on that there's a failsafe within the research facility, and it's up to you to read and find out whether they use it or not. And then the attack on community continues. I was really surprised by this because it's written in a similar style. You got Andromeda Strain here, Michael Crichton again. And then you got the Andromeda Evolution by Daniel B. Wilson. It's written in a similar style. Instead of those quotes, what he does is there's a category of event that once it occurs cannot be satisfactorily resolved. Michael Crichton. He quotes Crichton at the beginning of each of the days. So that is really cool. The evolution is coming. In 1967, an extraterrestrial microbe... Okay, so this is going to spoil the first book, probably. Microbe came crashing down to Earth and nearly ended the human race. Accidental exposure to the particle, designated the Andromeda Strain, killed every resident of the town of Piedmont, Arizona, save for an elderly man and an infant boy. Over the next 5 days, a team of top scientists assigned to Project Wildfire worked valiantly to save the world from an epidemic of unimaginable proportions. In the moments before a catastrophic nuclear detonation, they succeeded. Okay, so failsafe I mentioned. I did warn you there would be spoilers. But if you're onto this one, then hopefully you've already read this one. So, in the ensuing decades, research on the microscopic particle continued, and the world thought it was safe. Deep inside Fairchild Air Force Base, Project Eternal Vigilance has continued to watch and wait for the Andromeda Strain to reappear. On the verge of being shut down, the project had registered an activity until now. A Brazilian terrain mapping drone has detected a bizarre anomaly of otherworldly matter in the middle of the jungle, and worse yet, the telltale chemical signature of the deadly microparticle. And this is difficult to read because it's black on red, so pardon me for that. With this shocking discovery, the next generation Project Wildfire is activated, and a diverse team of experts hailing from all over the world is dispatched to investigate the potentially apocalyptic threat. But the microbe is growing, evolving, and if the wildfire team can't reach the quarantine zone under the anomaly and figure out how to stop it, this new Andromeda Evolution will annihilate all life as we know it. And yeah, this is pretty good. Michael Crichton, 1942 to 2008, was the author of the best-selling novels The Terminal Man, The Great Train Robbery, Jurassic Park, Sphere, Disclosure, Prey, State of Fear, Next, and Dragon Teeth. Dragon Teeth was good. His books have sold more than 200 million copies worldwide, have been translated into 40 languages, and have provided the basis for 15 feature films. Crichton remains the only person to simultaneously have the #1 book, film, and television series in a given year. And Daniel H. Wilson is a Cherokee citizen and author of the New York Times best-selling Robopocalypse, which also sounds interesting, as well as 10 other books. He recently wrote the Earth 2 Society comic book series for DC Comics. Wilson earned a PhD in robotics from Carnegie Mellon University, as well as master's degrees in artificial intelligence and robotics. That comes into play in this book. And he lives in Portland, Oregon. And the praise on the back, the Andromeda, this is red text on black. The Andromeda Evolution is both a kick-ass sequel, yes, and loving tribute, yes, to one of the greatest science fiction novels ever written. I can't disagree with that. Daniel H. Wilson has taken up Crichton's mantle and reinvented the techno-thriller by continuing the tale that invented the genre. This is a meticulously crafted adventure story packed with action, mystery, wonder, and just enough hard science to scare the hell out of you. So good. Yes, very realistic. And who said that? Ernest Cline, author of Ready Player One. Another fantastic book. The Andromeda Strain invented a new genre, the techno-thriller. Crichton could make most readers lose sleep all night and call in sick the next day. San Francisco Chronicle. And the heir apparent to Michael Crichton, Los Angeles Times, on Daniel H. Wilson. So, yeah, they are basically, it does follow the same beats for much of the first day. Classified top secret, exactly. Day 0 contact, so they gather the team up. Yeah, the military is involved. They go down to Brazil, and it's the outer fringes that society hasn't really inhabited, so there's indigenous tribes, and they have to deal with that on the way to the thing. And then you'll find out why this thing is evolving the way it is evolving, and yeah, don't want to spoil too much, but you can just probably mute the next 10 seconds. There's this crazy woman on the International Space Station, and she's going to connect them, so there's a space bridge, and they can move things up and down into space without the need for rockets and stuff like that. Okay, so spoilers over. Anyway, fantastic book. I mean, it did take me weeks and weeks and weeks to read this because I was reading a few pages at a time and then I couldn't read the next night. But the last 60 pages were just non-stop. I just tanked that out in just over an hour. So it is fantastic. So they're both high-speed thrillers if you like science and technology and stuff like that. But yeah, highly recommended. The Andromeda Strain and the Andromeda Evolution. And that's it for Ben's books. So let me know if you read them in the comments. And until next time, have a good one and keep reading.